listening to the podcast that changed the game and rocked an entire profession. Talking about shit in law enforcement that keeps poor leaders up at night. When others run scared and hide behind fake policies, the Roll Call Room podcast tells it like it is. No bullshit. No matter how hard these thieves try, we keep killing it. And now, here are your hosts, Nick and Mark.
Oh, I feel like Scott Medlin. Jesus, that's so loud. Yeah, I want to start running to the airport now.
That was funny. The last episode, I think it was the one before that. We had put a new song because our other episodes started with Post Malone and they kept getting flagged and just so everybody's aware, we're really trying to steer towards YouTube. We feel that media is less influenced by censorship.
Alexandria Police Department.
Yeah.
Shout out to them. Hope you're all well. Be safe. We are rolling into Police Week as we're recording this.
Yeah. Stay safe. Good luck on the 5th chief since I've been gone. All those great things, man. All those great things.
What do we say we're going to be doing, Nick?
Positive.
Always assume positive intent. Assume positive intent. That is our new way forward.
Yeah,
the Roll Call Room.
We did prep for this show, which in 4 years of Roll Call Room history, we have never done that. So let's start at the top, which is I want to, start like we normally do, introduce my wonderful co-host and the new National Security Advisor, Mark the Cop. Congratulations on your new position.
Good morning. Good morning.
It's astounding to me that you went from cleaning Donald's toilets to his security advisor in just a short period of time, man. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud. All you had to do was wear that hat. And
wear the hat. Actually, we need to make this to law enforcement. Make law enforcement great again.
Yes. We have some swag that you and I talked about on the phone that we're going to have made up. I think that'll be cool. We talked about it on the last episode of being Floridians now.
Mm-hmm.
That hat is a really common staple down where we live now. So,
finish your thought. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Well, so you moved from a very liberal area of the world, Virginia, which is just outside D.C. So now you moved to Florida. Yeah. And in Florida, you see pickup trucks with multiple Trump flags mounted to the back of it. I mean, you go to Publix, which we don't have Kroger's down there. You go to Publix or either grocery store, and you see red hats everywhere, and you see Trump signs everywhere. People randomly in their front yard, you'll have Trump signs sitting out there. So,
and the interesting part, Mark, and I was listening to our last episode when I was in the airport for work, and great episode, by the way. If you haven't checked it out,
high five.
Yeah, I think I named it Floridians or Florida. I can't remember.
Yeah, Floridians. Yep.
We talked about Buc-ee's.
We love Buc-ee's.
Love Buc-ee's. I would let
they don't pay us, but we still love them.
Oh, yeah, I would let him do bad things to me. So, what was I saying? I was listening to our episode, and it's just such a weird difference, man. Like, I went to the DMV yesterday to officially become a Floridian and go get my license.
Isn't that easy?
Dude, it was, I got scared. I thought there was going to be somebody that was going to jump out of the room and be like, I fucking got you. You still have 6 more hours to go. It literally was bringing, 2 utility bills, my old license, my social security card, and like my passport. And I went up to the window, and I must have looked like such an idiot because in Virginia, when you go to get your license, they take your picture, they do all that shit, and then they give you this white piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
and they go, set forth into the wilderness and good luck when you get pulled over or when you have to buy alcohol or you know, whatever you need an idea.
Right.
And so I said to the guy, I was like, you know, so I get my card in a couple of weeks, and he's like, no, this room, they're gonna print
Step over there.
I was like, with a real ID, and he's like, yeah. He goes, by the way, I've been doing real ID for 10 years now. He goes, these other states, you know, fuck them. And I was like, okay. And it was very interesting to get everything all like done in a. It's crazy when you remove a lot of bureaucracy from a government agency.
Right.
Isn't that crazy? It's so.
It's like why does it have to be so hard?
Yeah.
You know, why can't we just go in there and just get it done?
Yeah, there were two lines too. There was a line of people that just showed up and wanted to get it done, and then there was a line of people like myself and my family that made appointments.
Mm-hmm.
That line of people that didn't make appointments was out the door.
Oh yeah.
By the time I got done getting my license, which was Mark all of maybe 35 minutes, maybe that line with both lines, there was nobody on the line anymore, and they have such a great streamline. I was very impressed with the progress. I was very impressed with like how they maneuver everything through, and it makes you think, which is when you have too many people working and they don't have the common goal of getting things done, the bureaucracy is through the roof. So they leave you waiting, because if you're waiting, they can hire more people. Like they can milk the system, and it's the bureaucracy is crazy, which is really odd because Glenn Youngkin is the governor of Virginia, but I think even he can't unfuck that state.
Oh, you couldn't unscrew that much bureaucracy in 8 years, dude.
No.
That'd be a 30-year plan. I mean, they have in under. I'll just say it, under Democratic control, they just layer and layer and layer, and the moles and the trolls that are created those jobs, it's unbelievable. It's just clear it all out, start it all over.
Yeah, it bleeds into law enforcement, man. Like you go into any Democratic run state or city, and you know, I was just reading an article about Minneapolis. Like Minneapolis is still struggling with staffing and integrity.
Who would want to work there?
Fuck no.
I mean, you know, I wouldn't work there, and there's no way in hell I'd want to work there. No. Not being the cop that I was. I mean, I couldn't be there. It's like what we said in an earlier episode. We were born for this job, but you know, but it was a different day.
Yeah, I think it was a different day, and I think back then, and this is the theme of our episode today, is always assume positive intent.
Yeah.
And I told you that because the company that I currently work for, that's one of the biggest mantras in the company. It's been very, very beneficial for them, because you read an email, you read a instant message, or you read whatever you read, you should always assume positive intent. And I think in our old profession, it's more of like, what the fuck are you talking? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
right.
What do you mean by that? Like, it's automatically, and it's the culture that's been built for many years in law enforcement, which is you know, we eat our own, and it's, you know, you got to protect yourself. Like,
and why do we eat our own?
Yeah. I mean, you've been out of it for just as long as I have, and every time my boss messages me, "Hey, give me a call," or "Hey, do you have a second?"
Anxiety.
Like
every time.
Oh, what the fuck did I do? And like, you know, it's not supposed to be that way, folks. And you know, we talked about in preparation for this call, we talked about, you know, making sure that you have an outlet outside of what you're doing. Like I think you and I have said this many, many times, which is if you don't have an equal amount of non-law enforcement friends as you do law enforcement friends, you're doing yourself a huge, huge injustice. Because when this profession ends, because it's not going to go on forever as much as we all want it to, those friends, and I'm jumping around. I had a former academy instructor of mine Shout out to Renee, great guy. I've been friends with him since the cafe. He was my academy instructor. I was fucking petrified of this guy. He was that academy instructor.
He was that guy, huh?
He was that guy that walked around with like the fucking tactical coffee mug and walked down the aisle during inspection. And he has this like Southern draw accent, and he would like walk, and then he would stop and he'd go, "What the fuck is that? Is that your gig line? Is it? Did you wake up and you looked in the mirror in the locker room and you said, that's going to pass inspection this morning? That's what you did." Well, I'll tell you something, Sonny. It didn't pass inspection. You're going to do some push-ups. And I would usually be that guy.
Oh,
I
wow.
would be that guy. And my stuff was always like good, but I was always a jokester in the academy, so it kind of put
No.
And so
I can't imagine that.
Yeah, and so now we're friends. Like we message each other. We've gone out to lunch with each other multiple times. All in all, a really great guy, former military. Great conversation. I definitely want to have him on the show once he kind of gets through his stuff that he's got going on at his agency that he's still at.
Yeah.
But he messaged me the other day and he said, "Hey, you remember this other academy instructor?" And I like this other academy instructor.
Mm-hmm.
Defensive tactics coordinator, great guy, really good. And I said, "Yeah, I remember him. He was a great guy." And I worked for his cousin, who was my sergeant in Alexandria City Police Department.
Oh, okay. Small world.
He goes, he died the other night.
Oh, no.
And I said, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, he had a heart attack and he died in his sleep the other night." And I was like, "What?" And he proceeds to tell me that like nobody's communicating with nobody because he had left law enforcement. So in Lee's mind, he's not really current law, but he's just a retiree, which are the forgotten population. Like once you get out, your memorials and your funerals are more of like, I don't want to diminish it, but you get what I'm saying. It's not while you're in the job it's kind of an I don't want to say afterthought because it's so insensitive and that's not what I mean. I remember being in honor guard, and so do you. You were in honor guard as well. Honor.
I did many a retiree funeral.
Did they have the families? Yeah. Did they have the same level of? I mean, the answer is no, but they didn't.
Pomp and circumstance, no. Retirees, you've did your time. So we posted one. We would do casket watch an hour before the service started. Same. So prior to, we had to go to the funeral home and lay it out. Of course, I always had the blue tape. I'd put it on the floor to where I want my people standing, and we'd have to move the flowers and whatever, and just kind of get everybody together and say, okay, so your receiving line is going to be here. I'm going to post my guard here. So it just makes it easier for us to traverse, the funeral home. So it usually was a detail of three of us. And we do what's called the honcho. The honcho kind of runs it, coordinates it. I never said I ran it. Sometimes I say I ran it, but really the only thing I was is the coordinator. Because we had a multi-jurisdictional. So, it was us and Troy PD and the Sheriff's Department and Piqua. But anyway, retiree funerals, and the families were always so gracious, and they would set us up in a ready room. We go in, do our thing, and then we always retired the guard prior to the service starting. But retiree funerals, we did countless retiree funerals. I think it's a great honor, especially for those people, let me rearrange my thoughts here. I'm always trying to come up with that positive intent. Some negativity was creeping in. Well, it's we dedicated ourselves to a job and a profession, and once you're out the door, the way we went out, it's very hurtful. Yeah. It's, people talk about, well, if you had a spouse that cheated on you and the hurt and the pain that you feel, or the loss of a parent, the hurt and the pain that you feel, just multiply that, put it all together. Because, I would have we did run into the gunfire and didn't think about the circumstances. But then when the way we go out, or the way that you and I went out with that, betrayal's the I think the best word. But anyway, on a more positive note, being there an honor guard that gives the proper respects
100%.
to your time served.
Yeah.
And I always told my kids, do not bury me in my uniform. Period. Hard stop. Yeah. That's a short time when I was doing that job. I loved it when I did it, but it no longer identifies me.
Did I ever tell you the unfortunate officer that I had to bury that worked for me that I had that passed?
Oh God, that rips my heart out every time you talk about it. And what rips my heart out the worst is the way the agency, their attitude was. Like, that was appalling.
She was buried in her uniform, and I never forget this. The question came up of who's going to pay for the uniform that she's buried with. And I don't know if I ever told you that. It was.
Oh my God. Who said that? Which it was a lieutenant or a captain said that.
Very good. Very good. It was a captain.
Yeah.
It was a captain and it was
that's very captainish.
Yeah, it was a phone call that I had to have with the chief. And I was like, do you believe this? And
like,
he was
really?
astounded. He was like,
I'm sorry, active duty death. So you're everything but the riderless horse and the flyover. I mean, if you're on the job and you die on the job, a full honors funeral, if the family wants it.
Yeah.
I mean, just very few things. And we always had a Captain Fabulous called it the football. And it's simply a 3-ring binder of how we do everything. Because I get hit by a bus. Here's this 3-ring binder. Everything's in there. All the protocols are in there. Who to contact, who the contacts were at this funeral home, and blah 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 blah. Anybody could do it.
Yeah. We should have.
So in there. Well, shout out to the Goshen Police Department in Indiana, and Randy Canner, and I think Randy's retired now. But Goshen, Indiana, has an amazing honor guard school that we were sending our people to, and they did just a fabulous job. It was one of the best experiences of my career. But you don't do it. And we had this old codger. I think he's still in the FOP. He's one of these guys. He's one of these old guys that just won't give it up. Frank Sinatra always said the best time to leave a party is when you're still having fun.
Yeah.
And for this guy, the lights are out and the place has been cleaned up for an hour and he just won't leave. He likes showing up in his crusty uniform. He's got this uniform. He was a deputy, and the shirt is so old. It's actually, if you see it in certain lights, turning brown.
Oh, wow.
Because he won't get a new shirt, or I guess the sheriff won't give him one. But he's got this cluster. It's like a galaxy of stars on his chest. Oh, I've been doing this for 70 years. It's like,
the Cuban general.
Exactly. I don't have a problem with being a decorated officer. What I have a problem with is knowing your role.
Well, I think this is, you and I very, very rarely disagree, but there are times where I'm watching crime shows, and they're doing police interviews.
I know where you're going with this.
Person has
I think I do go.
these medals that go all the way up here, and you're like,
right.
2 or 3 is we get the idea that you're dead. Okay, I don't need every pin to show that you're on SWAT, you're on honor guard, which are contradictory to each other.
Right.
You being on SWAT and honor guard at the same time always perplexed me. Like people that because it would be like, it would be the honor, tactical,
and the guard.
Tactical hands.
Got SWAT hands.
SWAT hands. Like you're like, we're gonna move this casket over here, and we're gonna stand over here.
Where's my gallon of water?
Like,
guys, we're only saying this because we love you.
Yeah, I mean, you all know. You know what I'm talking. I'm going to brush off an old term on the Roll Call Room podcast, which is called the Steve. Okay, newer listeners are like, why did they mention Steve in the intro? A Steve, is the guy that wants the T-shirts without the ride. The Steve,
right?
And this was named after an asshole in my old department. That was a Steve. That his name was Steve. And we assured him when we first started the podcast that it wasn't about him, but it totally was about him.
Oh yeah.
If I can change things, it would be a different name, because now there are just so many Steves to choose from in that old agency. But the Steve is the guy that turns around and, you know, you're at a training at SWAT or Honor Guard.
Right.
You're sweating your balls off and you've been working, you know, it's a training day. You're humping, you're moving equipment. Steve is the guy that comes up with an ice cold Gatorade and is drinking it and going, why don't you guys just move it over there? Or why don't you just work over there? That's a fucking
hey guys, what's up?
Yeah.
And he's 10 minutes late.
Yeah.
You're like,
or he doesn't
where you been, motherfucker?
He doesn't belong in the he's not a member of the unit, and he's the obvious guy. He's the Captain Obvious guy. He comes over and he's like, it sure sucks to be working training today, huh? That's a fucking Steve. So don't be Steve. That was the lingo when we first started the roll call room. Was don't be
a shitbag Steve.
And you all have them. Like, I know you're in your cruiser right now. You're banging fucking calls, and you're like, that's fucking.
And
short.
Steve's on the barking dog, and he's been there for 45 minutes.
Yeah, Steve's the guy.
Because the neighbor that called it in's kind of hot.
Yeah. Steve's also the guy that comes out of the academy. He does maybe 2 or 3 years in the street, and then he goes to a special unit, like
special details. Yes.
Or K9.
I'm going to community relations.
Yeah.
No, they don't go to K9. K9, you're actually active.
Well, you'd be surprised because at my old agency, we had a couple that did 4 or 5 years on, and they just happened to hit a sweet spot where there were multiple vacancies in K9, and then they stepped in. And so much time has gone by, like 15 or 20 years, that people forget that this person only had 2 or 3 years in the street. Like,
right.
But you see it classically in CSI. You know, you see officers that were fucking terrible cops that are now CSI, and then they become CSI, and then they think they're the ruler of the land. They're the ruler of the crime scene, and they're telling you, "Hey, I need the crime scene tape over here." Great, you got 10 digits too, motherfucker. I see the camera over your neck.
I'm keeping these homeboys back up on their fucking porch. So which way you want this to go, Mister? I've never been in a fucking scuffle the whole time I've been on the street.
Oh yeah, man. Like, I'm not picking on CSI. I mean,
no, not at all.
That disclaimer.
No, we're talking about. Remember, we're talking about Steve. That's one dude.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't matter if it's male or female. It's a definition of that person.
But Mark, I know for a fact there's people that are going to be there's officers that are sitting in a cruiser right now, and they're laughing their balls off, and they're going, I know that's fucking Schwartz. That's on my fucking squad.
Yeah.
He's the fucking Steve. Like, he's the guy, you know, like, he has 2 paper calls already for the day, and you're humping fucking massive calls, and another paper call comes out, and he's like, I'll 332, I'll handle that. And you're like,
yeah. I always love when they try to take the they think it's a softball call, like, you know, suspicious person walking with a gas can. Yeah, and it turns out to be a fucking active domestic. You hear him screaming on the radio, I need other units.
Yeah, and then you get there and you're like, it's a verbal argument. What the fuck are you doing? Like, just do a report on it. And they're like, oh, what? And you're like, you got to call the DV hotline. Oh, you got to do what? And you're like, hey, you got to fucking call the DV hotline. You got to fucking get this person's services. Got to take them to the shelter. And they're like,
I
got
here in Ohio, it'd be like trying to explain that to a trooper, because troopers don't handle domestics.
No,
nothing against them. That's just not their role. So they're like, hey, bro, can you help me out here? I got you, dude.
Yeah,
I start pulling out the DV packets and like, you just want. And there's been a couple times I've just worked the call for them. Just sign here. All right, we good? Yeah. All right, cool.
There's also been several DVs that I've worked where I've had to take over them because I'm afraid I would lose my job as being the backup officer. Where you're like, are you seriously handing this person a Band-Aid and telling them good luck? And you're like,
oh wow.
and mandatory arrest state. I think
yeah.
you are too, right?
Yeah, we are.
Ohio?
Yeah, well, I don't know. What are we?
Yeah.
Ohio was mandatory arrest. What are
Yeah.
we now in Florida?
I don't know. I have to research that because I know that they definitely have some strict mental health laws, like the Baker Act.
Yeah. All right, Floridian friends, hit us up on Instagram since
please.
Facebook has us locked down on the Facebook page. So
try to get
let's find us, or email us, Nick at rollcallroom.com or Mark at rollcallroom.com. MARC. Right. So remember, and if you're looking for a good gift, manscaped.com. Roll call room.
Or
20% off.
Or I'm going to do some.
Like how I slipped all that in there?
I do. Or I'm going to do a shameless promotion if you're looking for a gift.
Oh, my God. Yes. That thing rocketed, man.
Yeah.
Rocketed to Amazon's #1. Yeah, this is cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I told Mark I was thinking about going back into writing, and I still want to do a positive law enforcement leadership book. But I was on this business trip, and I was like, what can I do? What can I do to help out folks that are on a day-to-day grind and help them through it. And what I did was I came up with this journal. And I know people, the same thing I heard from my therapist when my therapist was like, hey, you should journal. And that's how Mental Health Barricade, my first book, came out. It started as a journal. This is a day-to-day entry. It takes you 20 minutes to put your thoughts in this thing. And when I say thoughts, you're not sitting on the floor in fluffy pajamas and spilling your guts. This has calls that you've gone on, things that are sticking in your head, what your stress level is, your key risk indicators, who you're talking to about this. This also has what your commander's induced stress is in you. And folks, this is not just about journaling. This is also 8 months from now, when admin betrayal may happen. You have a point of reference where you can go, hey, listen, I remember 8 months ago, I got it. My sergeant or my lieutenant or my captain said this to me. You go back in this fucking book and you open it up and you have documented evidence of what you've gone through. This also helps you in the future if ever you get into a tricky situation where you need to prove, I've gone through some changes, mental health changes and things like that. So this is the first book. It's Kindle and hardcover. It's called In Case of Emergency First Responder Journal. And then I wrote one for spouses. The spouse one is out on Kindle. It is not on paperback yet. I'm waiting for Amazon to approve it. Hopefully by the time this episode comes out, it will. This is for your spouses, folks. Mother's Day is right around the corner. Okay. It's the greatest gift that you can give them, which is they're on the ride along with you. Remember that, while you're out there and you're doing a 12, 13-hour shift, they're at home. Give your spouse something to document their feelings and things like that. This is going to help you in the long run, folks. All right. It is more pricier than any of the other books that I've put out. This is mandated by Amazon Publishing. This isn't Nick, setting the price at $37 and sitting there and reaping the benefits. Literally make 40 cents off.
You can't get a cup of coffee for that now.
No, this is not for profit. This is strictly to get this out. It is a over 300-page book as well, so bear that in mind. It's a pretty fat book.
But it's for every day, right?
Every day. It's every day.
So it's that record.
Yeah, and it's got the date and everything on there. It really goes down. I'd give you the preview, but there's some slimy scumbags out there that will just copy and paste and just fucking do that. And that's not the purpose of it. So, go out there. It's on Amazon.com right now. You can go on and get the Kindle version. The Kindle version, you can't write on a Kindle unless you have a Kindle Scribe. So that I don't think serves much of a purpose unless you want to do that and print it out, whatever you want to do. But hard copy for me, I need something tangible in my hands.
Right.
I was hoping to have a hard copy today. I ordered it, and I ordered it overnight, and it hasn't come. So I was hoping that it would be in today so I could physically show it. So I'll have it for another episode, but I wanted to let everybody know I put those two out. It is #1 release right now. It's climbing the bestseller charts. So it's a necessity. All right. It's something that's needed out there. It's something for you to pour 20 minutes into your day. So that's my self-promotion.
So another aspect of that, and unfortunately, if we come to the time in our careers to where it's time to retire, and you know, the job has beat the hell out of you mentally and physically, this could also serve as a record of those injuries and mental health injuries as well. Because, you know, as we say, if we get shot in the line of duty and we come back, you know, they line up both sides. You come out in your wheelchair and get in your car and go home. But sadly, in our industry, if we come back from a mental health crisis, you are labeled.
Yes.
So, and that's another, again, trying to stay positive. It's a bitter pill to take, but it's the reality of life. And the attitude is changing. It's slow.
Yeah.
It's very slow. When I first joined the roll call room, you know, we still weren't concentrating on mental health. I think that some of our, and I'm going to say outrageous statements, sometimes you got to get a little loud to get people's attention. But I'm really pleased to see ICP is putting as much resources towards mental health, and we're talking about that at their conventions.
Finally.
But just the same, yes, finally, and that's good. So, like here, hit some applause. Yeah, there we go. Yes. Anyway, that was applause in case it just sounded like static on the other end. But I should have faded it in. Right? The comedy, I like it. Yours is better than mine. But anyway, the book could be as an evidence manual. So, you know, so you're going back and like when everybody's like, well, when did this start? Well, this started in boom. I was very pleased. We did our wet lab. I'm still an instructor. I teach standard field sobriety testing. So we do why is it a wet lab? Well, because we're drinking. And one of my volunteers was an officer at a local jurisdiction, and she was talking about on our show, not our show, the Shield Within, we're talking about let's get therapy started early. Let's get this done today. But I feel good for now, so let's get the intake process taken care of. Well, Mark, what's intake? You just call the therapist. Number one, make sure you got a therapist you work with. And you were talking earlier in the show that you got this guy. Do you vibe well with your new therapist?
Mine?
Yeah.
So, before we hit record.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we need to edit this out?
No.
Okay, good.
I now use a service for therapy. I don't go through my insurance company because I find
right.
We need to get them as a sponsor on this show, because I think it's important. There are a lot of services out there that you can go to outside of your insurance company. But my new one, I love my new one. I have a new shrink as well, as recent as yesterday. This guy's phenomenal.
Oh, good. So you have a good vibe. So that's essential.
Yeah.
Essential getting your work done.
Yeah.
So with your book, which is a self-therapy, or what we call the home, what did Sergeant Chris call it? us home service guys, you know, or self-help.
Yes.
If you don't want to make the bridge over, there's some things you can do on your own. This show, we help you out and give you resources. The other show I co-host on, which is the Shield Within, that gives you resources, and we actually have a therapist on there. We'll give a shameless plug for Dr. David, which is go to lessonslearnedcoaching.com. He does telehelp. He specializes in
phenomenal guy.
First responders, and that's another thing you need to be concerned with when you're out looking for therapy. are you first responder? I would say certified, but
Do you see first responders?
correct.
Do you have experience in this space?
Correct.
Because for me, when I'm shopping for a therapist, and Mark, you are spot on.
Yes.
You are spot on. When I'm looking for a therapist, if you haven't treated somebody in law enforcement or a first responder, nothing against the military, nothing against them. When I see a therapist advertise that they treat veterans and are targeting first responders, a light bulb goes on off in my head. I'm a little apprehensive because their realm of PTSD and their realm of issues is very, very different. There are similarities, but we're not lumped into the same thing.
Not at all.
What I love about Dr. David is
his voice.
Oh my God. He's the source of a separate therapist that I'm seeing.
What is it? What is EM? What do you call that? EMR?
ESMR or some shit?
ESMR, yes. Yes, he should do ESMR. He should actually read books, but it's like, good Lord.
Yeah, he's Dr. David, I think, is an anomaly. I've met a couple. The one therapist that I had, I don't see her anymore because she's so booked. That was the source of police mental barricade. She came in at the right time. She was treating another law enforcement sergeant that was, going through what I was going through, and it was that relation and understanding. Same with this new shrink. Like the first question he asked was, how's your sleeping as a former cop? And I was like, it's shit, it's garbage. I don't sleep well at all. And he's like, nightmares, right? And I'm like, fuck yeah. And he's like, all right, well, let's get you on something. And we talked about this on the show. I'm a big proponent of medication for a limited time. Mental health medication for a limited time. It should not be a long distance for me, at least. For you, it might be. Maybe it's better that you're on it for long periods of time. For me, I knew when my limits were, and I also had a point in my my journey where I was like, listen, I need to be able to function off of this stuff because I don't remember what I was before going on. Because those mood suppressants, man, you could see somebody on fire walking down the street on fire, and on those mood suppressants, you're like,
hey, hey, buddy, are you warm?
Yeah, you don't fly up. Like your brain starts to turn around and go, oh my God. And it's like a click from the medication where you're like, yeah, that'll work out. And I saw myself doing that. I saw myself getting into a regimen where I didn't want to be like that forever, and nor should you.
Right. No.
I want to be able to turn around and have these conversations with Mark where I'm manic all over the place. And we're on.
I think that's why we work so well as an improv show, is that we're both ADHD.
Yeah. You and I last week on the phone, we should have hit.
Oh my God. Yes. Oh yeah. We were on fire.
With brownies.
Yeah.
Cookies. It was like a different topic.
Well, speaking of brownies and cookies, I suggest gummies, and I just text you what I take, and they're not paying, but they may. However, with my journey with sleep, and even 4 years out, I don't sleep worth a fuck. And tried the Ambien, and you do wild shit on Ambien.
Yeah, Ambien.
Trazodones and tryptoline. Every one of them. Trazodone fucked up my vision. I literally couldn't see because I was at 5% of patients that blurred their vision.
Yeah, trazodone is rough. I've had trazodone. Rough.
Well, but I don't like the drug feeling. So my daughter lives in Oregon, hence the mug. And at that time, it was legal out there. So I went out to spend a couple weeks with them. I said, we're going to the dispensary. So I tried gummies and minimal amount, 10, 10, and 10, 10% THC, 10% CBN, and 10% CBD. CBD is for the joints, and you start slow, So I bought a tube of 10. So unlike Nick, who started gobbling them down like Halloween candy, and then like, I'm stoned as fuck. You got to know your body a little bit. It's just like when we do the wet lab, and people's like, yeah, shots. No, you're going to do one or two. We're going to wait 35 to 45 minutes, and then we're going to give you another one. See how you're doing. So start slow. I'm a big dude. I'm 250 pounds. 280 actually. Because, you know, food's my addiction. So start out with half. Wasn't bad. 3/4. Wasn't bad. And this is 3-4 days. So I found out that one gummy is perfect.
Yeah.
So I take one gummy, 45 minutes. You better have your ass ready for bed because
you go
bam.
out.
Yep. Lights out. I slept 6 to 7 hours straight.
I need to try.
I wasn't fighting. I wasn't running and gunning because normally my non-gummied cop sleep is I work more in my dreams now than I ever did when I was on the job. But it's always, I'm fighting, I'm chasing, I'm shooting, you know, it's always, you know, then wake up 3 o'clock in the morning in a sweat, you know, and it's that repeated cycle. So it's like 3 hours of sleep, wake up exhausted, 3 more hours of sleep, wake up exhausted. So it's changed that. And we're we have a shout out, so remind me of that because I wrote it down, but I forgot to get it. But before we do this,
I have it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have it written on my teleprompter that I'm using.
We'll do it at the end.
Shout out. Mark must do shout out.
So some states have legalized cannabis, have legalized cannabis use, but it hasn't caught up to law enforcement. And I had one of my colleagues says, well, you have 24-hour intoxication. No, you don't. No. Matter of fact, I don't have any intoxication. I go to sleep and I wake up and there's no residual. I'm not drugged. I don't have that. I need an hour to get my shit together. You know, it's like when we schedule class, and we always have to build some classroom in at the beginning of the day for the guys that take sleep meds to kind of get their heads geared in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You have to think about those things when you're scheduling advanced training. Otherwise, you know, especially driving cars or whatever, you actually have intoxicated people out there driving. So we schedule some classroom in the morning to just kind of gauge, you know, hey, that guy or whatever. But gummies, I think our legislation and our command staff need to start looking. If you're going to legalize this in your state, you know, and it's okay if you go home and pound a 12-pack of beer or half a bottle of wine, or, you know, how many shots of bourbon are you doing to make yourself go to sleep because you're putting yourself into that stage. If that's perfectly fine with you, then what's the difference with a gummy? And this is an argument I had with Dr. David forever.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to assume positive intent and be positive, but you've got departments that still can't decide whether or not a person having a beard is professional. You know,
right?
If you're a department that's still sitting there debating whether or not guys can have fucking beards and females can have colored nails, you are the fucking problem. Like you, and then you're the same agency that has a big meeting with all these fucking butter bar boobs.
Yeah.
And sit in a conference room and go, I don't know why we can't recruit anybody. I don't know why we keep losing people to the jurisdiction that's next to us.
Right.
It must be the pay. People will work for shit, and you and I can attest to this. People will work for shit for 25 to 30 years. If you keep me happy and you treat me right, I'll fucking let you abuse me for 25 fucking years.
Just have my back. Just all the above. I just need you to support me.
That's
whether
it.
Whether I'm doing my job or I fuck something up, I need the support.
It's like stepping out on your marriage. I don't want to turn around and go to a mistress that is 10 times worse than what I'm stepping out on.
The job is your mistress,
right?
And she's a bad one too,
right. But the thing is that if you go over there and she makes your dinner and she's not getting on you about all the things, like,
right? Well, you're getting all the good stuff.
Yeah, you'll put up with a lot of the abuse until you later on realize that what you're doing is really not very smart and you're dying from the inside. That's a whole other episode. That's a whole other episode, bro. Like,
you bring that up at the end of ours.
Yeah.
We can go for another 2 hours on that subject.
For a reason. I was like, I'm going to bring up this thing and then fucking leave. But I have
drop the grenade in the dumpster and watch the explosion in the fire.
Yeah, I do.
Is it roll call again?
We're back, baby. I do have another thing, and then I want to get to your shout out because your shout out is extremely important.
Oh yes,
and then we want to start doing shout outs more often. We got a lot of people writing in and social media posts and stuff like that. So Mike and I, holy shit,
that's all right.
Mark,
my brother's name is Mike. I get called Mike all the time.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Especially from my mother. God rest her soul.
Around.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm not touching that way.
So, we've committed that we're going to get 2 of these out a month at a minimum. We have designated a specific day for Mike and oh fuck shit, that's the second.
It's time. Mark the cop.
Bro, holy shit. We're going to get 1 day a month where we're going to have an evening recording because Mark and I do these at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Ass crack of dawn.
Yeah, we really do. And
Who's
so, yeah, and so we want to do one in the evening so we can start getting some guests on. We've got a good lineup of guests, a couple that I'm excited about all of them, but there's a couple. Scott. Scott is going to be. I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to ruin it. That is going to be a live episode.
Yep.
We're going to go on
live.
Yes.
In studio.
Well, a makeshift studio.
Well,
makeshift studio.
It's gonna be some sleazy crack hotel down along 19.
Ruin it. I'm excited.
Where hookers banging on the door.
The plan is to get the most seediest hotel for us to go to and do a live recording at the disgusting hotel for you folks.
God.
And that's why it's important for you to subscribe on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Watch the video. And there are also YouTube automatically converts the video to audio episodes too. So if you want, you can watch the audio or listen to the audio episodes. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is at Roll Call Room Podcast. Again, that's at Roll Call Room Podcast. You'll notice that it's that one, and the title on top says The Roll Call Room Podcast, has our new logo on it. You'll notice that it's that one because it has 12,000 subscribers. You'll also notice that most of the videos have over 18,000 views. We want to thank all of you for that. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
We're
humbled and honored.
Yeah, we're always amazed. But I do have something else, and then we're going to get to your shout out. Bam.
There it is.
The coffee is back. The coffee is back, folks. We're rolling out coffee again. Very excited to get back into it. The Roll Call Roasters at roasters.com. You can go on now, understand rollcallroomcoffee.com. Sorry, geez, I don't even
don't even know you're in shit, Nick. Come on, man.
Yeah, rollcallroomcoffee.com. If you order now, understand that it'll take a couple of weeks, but get your orders in now. Get them in early. Go online, make your orders, make in batches. We have the Rookie Blend, which is the light blend. We have the Sergeant Blend, which is the medium roast. And we have the Chief's Blend, the laziest of all blends. That's the Sergeant Blend. And then we have,
I like the Sergeant's Blend. That's my favorite.
I like that one too. And then we have the Midnight Blend, which is
infused
your espresso.
Yes.
And we'll have some offset roasts like we used to do, like Commander Tiers, and that was a real popular one. some other really cool ones that we'll do, and then the holidays come up and all that stuff. So look out for that. And we're really excited about getting that back up and running. Importing coffee beans again from Brazil, so it's
which matches your Brazilian wax.
Amazingly. Some people do it every other week, every day. I don't care if
well, you're a hairy guy, that's your Italian descent there.
I am. I think you should throw in right here, bro.
Grows everywhere but where you want it.
So I'm gonna turn
you got more hair on your shoulders than you have on the front of your head.
Oh, dude, and in my ears. That's a whole other episode. I discovered that the other day. I was like, is there a machine or something I could use to cut this? And then, of course, Manscaped has ear clippers, which work phenomenally.
Seriously, I know we kind of kid around about that. Hear a lot about Manscaped, but it really is a great product.
They have,
they're great for gifts. Everybody's like, wow, that's but if you get the all-inclusive package where you get the bag and the clippers and the ear and nose hair clippers. Yes. I mean, it is a great product. It's not one of these ones where it grabs the hair and forcibly yanks it out like some cheaper ones do.
No.
Smooth operation, quiet clippers. I mean, it's a great product.
And I'll tell you this, man. One good thing about Manscaped is you can always drink coffee and you can clip. So, have a little medium roast.
Clip your hairs into your coffee. Is that what you just said?
I think if you do that, you'll get some beautiful light roast from rollcallroomcoffee.com. So I turn it over to you, Mark. I think it's the most important part of the episode. That's why it's at the bookend of it. You had a really, really nice encounter with somebody that liked the show. That was
not a hooker.
Yeah, that was concerned.
Yeah. So in my travels and in my work, we train officers from all across the United States. Had the pleasure of having the Loveland, Colorado team come out and take some driver's training. And one of their officers, Sergeant Doug Savage, shout out to you. He's like, roll call room. I said, yeah, because I have it on the side of my travel mug. The mug you were talking about with the trainers all carry when they walk around their mug when they lecture. So the backside of that had a big roll call room sticker on it. And he's like, you're Mark the Cop. I said, yes, I am, sir. He's like, I just put that together. I said, yeah, it's pretty cool. Thanks for listening to the show. So I just sent him out a bunch of merch. So if you're working at Loveland, thanks for listening. Hit up Sergeant Savage there, and hopefully he's got some merch for y'all. And if you need some more, let me know. Normally, the one show I was on, like everybody needs to pay for that. But no, if you're listening to us, send us an email within the jurisdictional boundaries of the United States. I'm not shipping overseas, but we'll shoot you out some merch. We have the stickers. Slap stickers are always great, so especially if you see us out in public. Yeah. But thanks for listening, all you Midnight Dogs. We love you guys. We absolutely do, because that's where I started listening to the show back in 2019, and in season 1, I was in my usual perch and going through podcasts. I'm like, roll call room. Yeah, this looks good. So I hit on it and started listening to it. And the vibe I had with Nick and Mike at the time was like, oh my God. And my guys knew that on Sunday nights, I usually left. We worked a 12-hour shift. So Sunday night was my short shift, or what they call the Kelly day. So I was just burning time until it was time to go out the door. And the guys knew, don't bother Sarge at this time because he's listening to the roll call room. So that's my hour to sit there and try and get caught up on reports and listen to you guys while actively working. So it was always kind of like my night to vibe and reflect. And, that's kind of what got it all started. And here I am today, honored to be a co-host on the roll call room. And remember, if you're just finding us or listening to us, thank you very much for listening. But this is the original. This is the OG. Nick and I, in our conversation the other day, as he was traveling, we were talking about what was police podcast before this came along. What was police podcast like then? Well, let's talk about the Glock 20. You know, and it was just, oh God, it was miserably boring and terrible. You know, we talk about patrol tactics and how to do. Not saying that's bad.
Yeah.
But Nick, through tragedy, came out. He had to express a voice about poor law enforcement leadership, and they're still there. I mean, it's there. I don't think it's as bad as what it was. I think a lot of these fake it or make it guys have made it to the top, and they are just not sustainable. So they've gone out the door.
Yeah,
thankfully. But need to call that shit out. And you do have a voice, and it's called your union. And whenever you're in trouble, what's the first thing they do? They waive the contract and the standard operating procedures manuals in your faces, and you did this. Well, but we also, as patrolmen, also have that two-way conduit. So you take it right back through the grievance process and all that. Well, I may make the boss mad. You will.
Yeah.
Absolutely you will. But it's not, take the emotion out of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not against you personally. It's like what you got to do is you got to stand up and say, no, I'm not taking this personal.
Yeah.
You violate the contract.
Yeah.
That's what we're pointing out. You know, and if you do it, go ahead.
No, you can finish your thought.
Well, if you do it professionally and without malice and without emotion, then you get work done.
Yeah.
But if you're in there because you want everything in the world, you have to understand that, there's a process to everything. And adhere to the process. It may not be perfect. It may not be on your timeline, but you need to adhere to the process. And that's how we keep one another on the job.
Yeah.
And keep one another moving forward. And again, law enforcement, best fucking job in the world.
Yeah.
It's a noble profession. I highly recommend it. I mean, like I said, it was great until it wasn't. But it wasn't. And what didn't make it great was poor law enforcement leadership. And the roll call room brought that out. So I think every podcast, including mine, afterwards was as a result of inspiration of the roll call room. I can tell you for a fact the Shield Within was born because of the roll call room. How many other ones that you've been a guest on, Nick? I mean, there was a period of time there before I started and after Mike 2 departed, where you were guest slotting on several other shows. In all those shows, I think we're having you on as an homage to this one.
Yeah, it was.
You can answer that best. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot.
It was a nightmare in a sense where everything that I didn't want to be a part of, I not all of the shows, like a good majority of them, because I didn't. Once the second Mike left, I was like, do we keep this thing going? And I remember you and I talked about this last week on the phone. The first episode of the Roll Call Room was atrocious because we were trying to be things that we weren't. We were trying to be a parody of Howard Stern and that, that shock jock kind of mentality. And then I remember Mike and I sitting in the studio in my basement in Virginia, and we were like, we gotta just be ourselves. We gotta not worry about all that stuff, and we need to be able to just talk like we're in the roll call room and just bullshitting before roll call starts. And that was always the intention. The intention was to give folks an outlet to listen to things and to turn around and identify with it and say, hey, listen, I'm going through the same shit. Holy shit. Yeah, I'm not the only one. And I think it's good that a lot of podcasts have grown out of the roll call room, but I think some of them have lost what the mission should be, or they're just terrible. There's no ands or buts about it. Like I tune into it here and there, and I'm just like, what are you doing? But you know what? If it's their outlet to relieve stress and to do all that, good for them. Good for them. I don't appear on any shows other than yours, Medlin, or Spinning Our Gears. That's it. Those are the only three that I've gone on because I truly believe in what they're doing. And that's not to say that the invitations that I've gotten, I don't believe in what you're doing. It's just, I have a life, I have a career now, and I want to see.
It's 6 o'clock in the morning. We're doing shows, so
Yeah.
unless you want to get up at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time,
Well, it's
especially for your West Coasties,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. I mean,
it's
it's 6
tough.
o'clock, so it like this usually be like an hour, and then from the time that I sign off until 6, 7 o'clock at night, I'm just pounding work. It's a
Right.
different kind of work, though. It's not in a police cruiser anymore. It's sitting behind a desk on a computer, you know.
And that's
call-
worse.
call-
Ugh.
it's terrible, man. It's terrible. You know, that'll be another future episode when I can talk about it. Which
Mhm.
we'll see. You know, I think it's like a drug addict. You replace one drug with another drug, or one addiction with another addiction.
Right.
You know, and I don't want to get into it because there's some things going on in the background, but eventually I will.
And we're up on time.
Yeah, we totally are. But that's a beautiful shout out. I know a couple of people have reached out to you and have said, "Hey, listen, I thought the show was done. You guys weren't cranking out any episodes." No, and we've addressed this, I think, the last 2 episodes, which is, you know, I think we're in a regimen finally. I think my work schedule and your work schedule.
Right. Well, with uprooting and moving, and you know, trust me, gang, podcasts aren't cheap. I mean,
Yeah.
Transferring over to the digital realm again is another expense, and if you're not savvy with how that equipment works, I had DJ Dave come up last night and help set up the studio for digital. You know, it's just the numbers. If you're not on video, then you know you need to be, because strictly audio only. And then of course, you know, our friends at Spotify, for whatever reason, you know, will suddenly one day decide to start throttling you back. Okay. So, you know, you have to have a different venue. But our commitment to you as the listeners, and thank you very much, is to start putting more content out. So we've gotten together. We've had a production meeting, which is basically me calling Nick while he's driving to another
Airport,
place where he's working at that day, and setting it up.
Yeah. All right.
So.
Well, this has been a blast. Don't forget, go check out the book that just was released. Go on Roll Call.
Make law enforcement great again. Make law enforcement great again.
Rollcallroomcoffee.com. Check that out. Email Mark at marc@rollcallroom.com or nick@rollcallroom.com. Hit us up. And we look forward to seeing you again very soon.
In a room where the stories don't lie, Nick and Mark light the fire, let the truth fly. With
Oh, yeah, the country version.
They fight for the fallen, the beat down, the damned. The ones who gave all, then were tossed aside by leaders who folded, who ran and who lied. But we ain't forgotten, we ain't backing down. Nick and Mark are the voices that carry the sound. Roll call room where the warriors speak, for the strong, for the tired, for the brave and the weak. Every badge that's been broken by the weight of a crown. Nick and Mark are the thunder that's shaking the ground. Roll call room, we ain't forgotten, we won't stand down.
Yes.
They call out the cowards who left good men behind. They
Listen to you.
with the warriors still stuck in the
Little do you know, this
grind. No politics, no games, just the raw bleeding truth.
All right,
For every good cop betrayed in their youth.